Just relax.
The movie begins with Syracuse, a lonely fisherman living on the coast of Ireland, heading out to sea for another ordinary day of fishing. But when he pulls his heavy net back onto the boat, he discovers something completely unexpected. Among the fish is a young woman.
Jesus.
At first, Syracuse thinks she may be dead, but then to his surprise, the woman suddenly comes back to life. She is frightened and refuses to go to a hospital or let anyone see her. She only asks Syracuse to keep her existence a secret. When he asks her name, she simply tells him, Ondine.
You need to see a doctor. After a thing like that?
No.
My name's Syracuse. People call
Syracuse takes her to an isolated cottage that once belonged to his late mother, giving the mysterious woman a safe place to hide. But Ondine's arrival quickly begins to change his life. Syracuse soon notices that there is something unusual about her. And when his daughter, Annie, hears the strange story about a fisherman finding a woman in the sea, her imagination immediately takes over.
kind of a wish.
A wish?
Strange. Or wonderful.
Annie becomes convinced that Ondine could be a selkie, a mythical creature that can take human form after coming from the sea. What Syracuse doesn't know is that Ondine is hiding a secret that has nothing to do with magic, and that secret will eventually put all three of them in danger. The next day, Syracuse goes to pick up his daughter, Annie, who regularly undergoes dialysis because of her kidney problems. On the way, Syracuse begins telling Annie a strange story. He tells her about a fisherman who one day pulls up his net from the sea and discovers a mysterious woman inside. Annie immediately becomes curious and wants to know what happens next. When Annie asks who the woman really is, Syracuse doesn't give her many details. Instead, the story makes Annie even more suspicious, especially because her father has been acting strangely since returning from the sea. Annie then starts researching the legend of the selkie, a creature from folklore believed to live as a seal in the sea and take human form on land. The more she learns, the more convinced she becomes that the mysterious woman her father found might actually be a selkie. Meanwhile, Syracuse returns to the cottage where Ondine is hiding. He begins to realize that ever since this mysterious woman entered his life, strange things have started happening. And without Syracuse realizing it, his curiosity about Ondine is slowly turning into something deeper. The next morning, Syracuse finds Ondine washing clothes near the water. She is quietly singing a strange song in a language he doesn't recognize. When Syracuse prepares to go fishing, Ondine asks if she can come along. Although she is still trying to avoid being seen, Syracuse eventually lets her join him on the boat.
Just a song?
But you remember it?
You can call me Ondine.
That's nice.
At first, Syracuse's lobster pots are completely empty, but everything changes when Ondine begins singing. One by one, the pots come back filled with lobsters, leaving Syracuse amazed by the sudden change in his luck.
My God.
What?
You're playing games with me.
No, I'm not.
What did you just do? Jesus. You bring me luck. Right. Come over here. Help me.
Syracuse starts wondering if Ondine really is connected to the sea. He asks her to sing again, and once more the catch is surprisingly abundant. For the first time in years, Syracuse feels like his luck may finally be changing. After returning to shore, Ondine refuses to go to the fish market because she doesn't want anyone to see her. Instead, Syracuse goes into town by himself and secretly buys her some new clothes. Meanwhile, Annie becomes even more fascinated by the mysterious woman in her father's story. She begins connecting Ondine's strange behavior, her singing, and the incredible fishing luck to everything she has learned about selkies. And the more Annie investigates, the more she believes that her father's mysterious guest may really have come from the sea. After learning about the mysterious woman, Annie becomes even more curious. She eventually goes to the secluded cottage and finds Ondine swimming in the cove. Annie approaches her and begins telling her everything she knows about selkies, creatures from folklore that can live as seals in the sea and take human form on land. Ondine doesn't correct her. Instead, she quietly goes along with Annie's theory, allowing the girl to believe that she may really be a selkie. Meanwhile, Syracuse becomes curious about the same legend. He goes to the local library looking for books about selkies, only to discover that Annie has already borrowed all of them. Later, Syracuse takes Ondine fishing again. While they are out on the water, a fisheries patrol boat suddenly approaches, causing Ondine to hide. Syracuse then pulls up his net and finds an unusually large catch of salmon.
Would you look at that?
What?
That's weird. Salmon. Only with a gill net.
Curious?
When they return to the harbor, Ondine finally attracts the attention of the townspeople. Everyone begins staring at the mysterious woman, but one person stands out, a dark-haired man who seems to recognize her and is clearly looking for her. Syracuse notices the stranger but doesn't yet understand who he is or why he is searching for Ondine. And suddenly, the mystery surrounding Ondine becomes much more serious. After making an incredibly large catch, Syracuse takes the fish to the market and sells them. With the money he earns, he takes Ondine to a clothing store and buys her some new clothes. Slowly, Ondine begins to feel more comfortable with her new life, while Syracuse also becomes increasingly happy to have her in his life. Their relationship grows closer. Ondine not only becomes more comfortable around Syracuse, but also grows closer to Annie. The two of them even spend time together swimming in the sea. To Annie, Ondine's presence feels almost magical. She becomes even more convinced that Ondine really is a selkie who came from the sea.
Something you found? You found your seal coat.
As the days go by, Ondine begins to feel like a part of Syracuse's small family. She becomes accustomed to their life together, while Syracuse finds it increasingly difficult to hide his feelings for her. But behind their growing happiness, there is still something troubling them. The dark-haired stranger who was previously seen at the harbor is still looking for Ondine. He continues appearing from a distance and watching her every move, as if he knows something about Ondine's past that Syracuse doesn't. Then, during an event near the harbor, Syracuse, Ondine, and Annie are surrounded by a crowd. The cheerful atmosphere suddenly changes when Annie falls into the sea. Everyone immediately panics. Without hesitation, Ondine joins the people around her in trying to rescue Annie. Once Annie is pulled out of the water, Syracuse immediately makes sure that his daughter is safe. However, the incident only makes Ondine even more suspicious. The way she reacted to the sea makes Annie even more convinced that she isn't an ordinary human being. And while Annie becomes increasingly certain about her selkie theory, Syracuse begins to realize that Ondine is hiding something much bigger. After the incident at the harbor, Syracuse becomes even more concerned about Annie's safety. Meanwhile, Ondine continues trying to hide her past. Annie, on the other hand, becomes even more convinced that Ondine is a selkie, especially after seeing how calm and fearless she was in the water.
Are you dry?
However, their lives begin to change when the dark-haired stranger finally approaches Ondine. Syracuse soon realizes that the man isn't just a random stranger. He has a connection to Ondine's past and is determined to find her. Syracuse begins to realize that Ondine hasn't told him the whole truth. He starts trying to discover who the woman he found in the sea really is. At the same time, Ondine realizes that she can no longer keep her secret hidden. Amid all this, Syracuse and Ondine's relationship grows even deeper. Syracuse wants Ondine to stay with him, but Ondine knows that her past could put Syracuse and Annie in danger. Not long afterward, the truth is finally revealed. Ondine isn't a creature from the sea, as Annie has believed. Her real name is Joanna, a woman who escaped from a criminal organization and entered the sea to save herself. That is why she has been so afraid of being found. She deliberately allowed Annie to believe the selkie story so that her true identity could remain hidden. Syracuse finally understands why Ondine kept everything a secret. She wasn't playing with their feelings. She was simply trying to escape from her dangerous past. But the danger isn't over yet. People from Joanna's past are still searching for her, and eventually, they manage to track her down. Syracuse is forced to make a choice. He can let Joanna face her past alone, or risk his own safety for the woman who has completely changed his life. In the end, Syracuse chooses to stand by Joanna. After the danger has finally passed, Joanna no longer has to live in fear. Their relationship also becomes something much more serious. Meanwhile, Annie finally gets a chance at a better life after receiving the kidney transplant she desperately needs. For Annie, the story of Ondine still feels like a fairy tale about a selkie who came from the sea. But Syracuse now knows the truth. Ondine isn't a magical creature. She is simply a woman running from her past who was accidentally found by a fisherman who gave her a chance to start a new life. And for Syracuse, meeting her turns out to be the greatest stroke of luck in his life. Because by finding a mysterious woman inside his fishing net, he eventually finds hope, love, and a family that gives his life new meaning. The movie ends with Syracuse and Joanna finally able to begin a new life together with Annie, while the story of the mysterious woman from the sea remains alive as a fairy tale in Annie's memory.